Good evening. This is the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your hosts are Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. Welcome back, everyone.
Trampled Underfoot podcast, where we answer the burning question: if your knees bent the other way, what would a chair look like?
And does anybody remember plastic Pampers and the little earwings when you were a baby, and then you could pull them off ever so slightly, but they would stick to it and you'd break them? I remember when I was a kid. I remember those plastic Pampers. I didn't use, as far as I can remember, cloth Pampers. So we answer those questions too. See, I love how that went left field for you sufficiently
Well,
that you don't
because
have that you have nothing to.
I can't experience it. There weren't Pampers in 1961.
There sure were in the 70s.
You were truly a 70s kid. There were no Pampers in 1961. So I have to claim ignorance.
You had cloth, right?
Yeah. Everybody did. There was no real alternative.
Well, we had plastic Pampers, and I remember as a kid, I get fit with it. I'm remembering images. I'm not saying that I remember. And on October 1st of 1973, 76, I remember sitting there watching Scooby-Doo, and I had a potty movement. And so I'm not saying that at 10:15 in the morning.
You just did.
Well, I'm inventing it for the example, but I do have flashes, and I can remember being fitted with them, and I remember farting around with the little. There were like little ears, if I remember correct, and then and then they would stick, and that's it. They're stuck. But I wasn't. I remember various times not being totally satisfied with the fact that thing sticks. I wanted to see if I can unstick it, and I'd pull on thing until it would break and stuff. Now, if that's not coming from left field, whatever. But I threw it out.
It was. So, if your knees bent the other way, a chair would either look like they do now, just your feet would be stuck straight out, or imagine a padded sawhorse with a back on it.
A padded sawhorse with a what?
With a back on it. You would sit on that pad and lean against the back.
Oh, okay.
It would have to be real skinny to go between your legs.
There's this video, There's this random video on those clips where it shows. It's a quick clip, but it shows this crew, cement crew, that's laying down some sort of patio walkway, and at first it pans at the people, at the workers. And the workers, you see them there. They're with their they're working, but they're looking down down what they had just poured and laid out. And then the camera tilts, and there's this older lady halfway down the block of all poured cement, and she's just walking right through the center of it, like digging. And she gets to the edge, and she walks out, and you see the trail. And she walks out, she wiggles her foot, and she just keeps going. And these guys, like, they're just, look at this. We can't do anything. It's so hilarious. Yeah, it's so hilarious.
I did see one where there was a guy, he was just finishing up a driveway and turns and look, and there's a dog standing in the middle of it, tracks all the way up and just standing there in the middle of it, looking at him like, what you doing? What's in your lunchbox? You got a treat for me?
It's hilarious, these things that happen, because some people don't have points of reference of why what they're doing. I mean, but you would expect, once you're sticking your foot into something that's mushy, quicksand-like, that you've committed some sort of foul. But maybe in the case of the older lady, she was like, you know what? Yeah, I stepped in it, but I'm going to take this one to wherever it ends, and I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to be immortal. They're going to remember me forever. Feet. I mean, movie stars get to do that in Hollywood. I'm doing it here.
I mean, who knows because, I mean, Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Uh, I want just about your upbringing and whatnot, or broadly speaking.
Yeah.
Based on your upbringing, whatever that might be, well, which we've touched on, but I'm just saying for this question right now, does this occur to you like it does to me, or has it occurred to you like it does for me? Just to see if there's some sort of, let's see if we can reach arms across America. When you walk into a place, a business or whatnot, or whatever, and for some reason, as you're walking, you realize when you look down that they just mopped the floor and you see the person off to the side. Do you ever say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and you walk, even though you're in a public area that you know is going to be trampled underfoot, no pun intended, you still like scoot over, you're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and you tiptoe. I've done that. Have you ever experienced anything?
Oh yeah, because I've been that guy. I've been that guy. Fresh out of high school, that was one of my first jobs as a janitor. I've been that guy. Cleaned a supermarket, and it was open the last half hour while we were there, and there were certain things we would do. And as they closed, they would make their final announcement and everything, go lock the doors, and we'd start in the produce aisle because that was always the dirtiest. And get going, get it all swept and everything, get started mopping, and somebody would come around the corner and oops. And I'm like, it's okay, don't worry about it. Just go down this side, please. And all right, fine. And then, because when you're finished, you can walk up that side and get that side real quick and then gone to the next aisle.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've walked in a door and saw the little sign there and went, whoops, and go look for another door or go around the edge or something.
According to 20th century values, I'm not playing the game anymore. I qualify everything as 20th century values compared to everything else in favor of 20th century values. I don't care. I don't care. That's a hill. Talking about, because you that's a hill. I'm willing to die in.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
Well, notwithstanding, to be honest, even thinking back in the day, obviously, it's not like just because you have done that and many of our friends here have done that as well, more than likely. It doesn't follow, and I know examples of even in the 20th century that people wouldn't do that. They just walk right through it.
Yeah.
Screw it. So that type of person that would do that, just for that thing, they could be good in every other thing. They could be saints in every other regard. But like in this specific trampling over something that somebody has done prior, just there with no care whatsoever, that existed even back then.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes in with integrity, integrity is doing the right thing even when you know nobody's looking. And you find little examples of that all day long when you know what the right thing is. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Like returning the shopping cart. When you're finished with your shopping cart, you've unloaded everything into your car. Do you take it over to the little shopping cart corral and put it in there? Or you just leave it in the middle of the parking lot for somebody else to move?
Guess which one I do. If you had to guess. If I had to press you to guess, which one would you
You probably put it in the little shopping cart corral.
That's right. That's right. Even though nobody's looking, and I could just as easily set it in the middle of the road so all those other jerks can run into it or have to stop and move it, I still place it in the bin. Why? Because that's how I would want, even though I don't get it, but that's how I would want others to behave.
Yeah. Well, so it's the right thing to do. That's what it's for.
Well, that's true too on a basic level. But if I don't behave how I would want other people to behave,
how can you expect them to? Yeah.
What right do I have when I'm driving down the road say, move out of the way, a-hole,
Yeah.
Get a license, moron, where I wouldn't have the right to, but So yeah, you do it because it's the right thing to do. Not that one is that doesn't make one special. You just do it because
No,
that's the right thing to do.
exactly. Because,
I don't want
I've
an award for it.
I've been that guy who's had to get out of put the car in park or in neutral and set the parking brake, get out and move a cart because that was the only ding dong parking spot on that line, and then pull in and park. I've been the guy who's had to get out and move it. Linda and I tag team it. She's in the co-pilot seat. She'll hop out and go get the cart. Then she doesn't have to go look for a shopping cart. And then I'll park and hop
On
out.
the other hand, I'll admit. No, I'll ask you. Notice how I'll admit, but I don't tell you what I'm admitting to. But I'm admitting to this. Would you say that no time across your history have you not done the right thing with the shopping cart and just freaking left it because you said, well, why bother this time? Or have you always? Because I can tell you right now, that's not the case with me. On average, for the most part, I do. But when situations get sticky,
yeah, situations have arose where I have, because that whole shopping cart corral on the parking lot thing is a fairly new thing. It hasn't been around for very long. So I'd say the first half of my life, easy, there was no such thing. And it's like,
half a
I
century
ain't
at least.
I ain't walking way the hell and gone back up there to that damn store because I had to. The whole world's going shopping today. I had to park way the hell and gone away from the store. Ain't no way I'm going back there. So I'll look for like a sidewalk or a curb or a planter or something like that and set it up
And
there.
dump it there. Dump it
Yeah.
there.
So it's not in somebody's parking. So it's not in a parking spot, but people can get around. That used to be common. You'd see like a lamp post in the middle of the parking lot. There'd be a whole circle of shopping carts around it.
All it takes is a handful of dumbasses
Mm.
in a particular category that we're criticizing to screw up the whole natural flow of things. But if you take all the categories available or a handful of them, you're always going to be able to find a handful of people that are willing to bend the rules sufficient so that whatever it is, that topic, be it the cart putting it away, being it opening the door for people, being it all these things, you're always going to find sufficient people in the mix that will create variations sufficient to someone that does do the right thing at any particular moment will come across someone that doesn't, and that will reduce that person's expectations of humanity just that much.
Yeah.
Based on the actions of that one person. Because, well, dude, I do that. Well, why aren't you doing that? And so it's such a big sort of like blob of humanity interacting with each other and seeing, oh, you did that. You shouldn't have. Or it's an impossible, chaotic scenario.
Well, they pay kids to come out and gather up all the shopping carts so he can just come over here and get this. It's his job to do that. I'm not going to do his job for him. No, okay. Now, years ago, there was a store called Gemco, a membership department store. And it's down
Gem,
in
like GY.
GEM, like gem. Like
Oh,
Gemco.
Gem.
And it was a membership department store. They had a lady up at the front door. You had to show your membership card when you walked through, and they'd let you go through and everything. Stuff was cheaper there. But they had a cool system. If you returned a shopping cart, you'd show that lady, and you came in through the front door with the empty cart, and you took it around and you put it in the cart rack there. They had a little area there. And you walk back up to the counter, she would give you a ticket. Like the little theater tickets you used to get. Half of it would go on the drum and the other half you had. And at the end of the month, they would spin that drum a little bit and pull a ticket out. And it was a little raffle. And they called it the Collect a Cart giveaway. And they gave away like bicycles and skateboards and things like that. So kids would hang out in the parking lot, and to the point that they would follow people out of the store And the minute the last bag of groceries was out of that cart, floom, it was heading into the store, man. Nobody had to go collect carts. But, we're talking about at the time, I was 14, 15, and they're giving away a $75 bicycle. That was an expensive bike back then.
They had raffles at Kmart too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that was cooler than hell.
Do you remember the raffle?
Vaguely.
Well, you're talking about it now, just roughly.
Yeah, vaguely, but I didn't know Kmart did that.
Well, Kmart had this thing where they'd come over the speaker and say, "In the jewelry department, we're
Oh yeah, the blue light special." Yeah.
And then people would rush to that, and then I'd always expect like the toy section as a kid, But yeah,
really, I don't want no mittens.
Yeah, I mean,
now, over in Germany, when we got there, it was interesting because you had 1 mark coins, and the shopping carts were all locked together, had a little key. And you would have to put in a 1 mark coin, which was about 75 cents. And you put that coin in the thing and twist it. You could pull the card out, and then you could go shop. And in order to get your 1 mark coin back, you had to put it away and lock it to the next cart in line, and then it would release your coin. Well, Aldi does that here with a quarter. So you've got a little financial stake in returning that cart.
That's one of the reasons I don't go to Aldi's.
But in Europe, all over the place, every grocery store does that.
That's one of the reasons I don't go to Aldi's.
Really?
I remember when they first came to Miami, and we're talking about probably a decade and a half ago or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first store was somewhere here in Westchester, which is just southeast of me. But like crossing the road southeast of me, like right here. So you could basically, Sweetwater runs into Westchester and so on. So it's my area.
Yeah.
And we went, a friend and I, to check it out because he's like all about European stuff. Because he was like raised half the time in Europe and the other half in the United States. And so, hey, we got to check this out. And I said, okay, let's go. And once I saw the whole process and then everything put out, like in like the boxes, the cart, like the whole layout, when I'm used to, I guess, let's call it the American way, I was like, nah, I'm not. I mean, they had like the vegetables and this and that, but it was kind of like, it looked like, no, dude, I'm sorry. No, I don't want to say it too much, but yeah, well, let's go to war. Let's go to war right now. Because no, I'm sorry. No. Now, I say that bias because I mean, when it comes down to apples and biscuits, when it comes down to what's what, it's true that we are used to what we're used to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't really, unless you live in someone else's shoes and this and that. But as far as what does that Aldi's have? I mean, I don't know about today because I haven't been for the past 15 years because I refuse. Just because I saw the cart and the whole no, give me a cart. Give me a cart. Let me shop. I'll pay you, but stop with this bull crap. I mean, that was my attitude, like automatically. And my friend was like, "Oh, look how cool this is!" You stick that. I was really emphatic. No, I want the American way. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And I don't care. I know it's biased, but I like walking into a store, rambling around. Don't put obstacles in my way. Don't put obstacles in my way. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I don't care.
Aldi is the fastest growing grocery chain in the U.S. And they're also the number one. They're the most profitable. Number one and number two. Have you ever been in a Trader Joe's?
Yeah, I don't like it either. It's so fancy schmancy, and it's not like I'm against fancy schmancy or Aldi's in itself. It's like, no, I want regular people stuff to the standard of America in the 1980s. I'm sorry.
Trader Joe's is Aldi. Aldi started in Germany in 1946. There's two brothers. And they built up a huge thing. Within the first 10 years, they had 300 stores in Germany. Then they got into an argument because one of them wanted to sell cigarettes and the other one was absolutely against it. So they decided to split the company in half. So over in Germany, you have Aldi Nord, north, or Aldi Süd, which is south. And one sells cigarettes, the other one doesn't. But they didn't have a falling out or anything. They just decided to split the company. They still get together and buy in bulk and swap tips and this, that, and the other. Well, when they came over to the US, we have laws that say you can't have two different companies with the same name. So Aldi Nord is Aldi's here. Aldi Süd is Trader Joe's. But you will find Trader Joe's food in Aldi because, again, they buy from each other and this, that, and the other.
We have Trader Joe's here. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, give me my Chinese-made, funneled through American company plastic goods, okay?
They cater to the people. They cater to the people that are looking for the organic stuff. You'll notice a lot of vegetarian and a lot of organic stuff at Trader Joe's because people are willing to pay extra for that. They're willing to pay a bonus.
Oh, dude.
And they cater to it. I mean, go into a Whole Foods store and you'll see what I mean.
I could right now introduce with that group of people, introduce something that would be so, in my mind, devastating. But it would be improper to do because, you know, but, oh boy. Okay. We'll put that to the side. In any event, there is a bit of hypocrisy in the whole thing because, this notion of America, 1980s America is not that I have is not exclusively in-house. Everything that I enjoyed from entertainment wise, which is a lot to do with kids and whatnot, you know, their life back then, came from freaking places like Japan. Be it video games, like the most powerful ones that we know of, just a whole slew of things and ideas came from everywhere. So it's not exclusively just the fact that it's American in-house grown, but it's a part of the conjunction of the culture back there and whatever those fluctuating incoming products and sources and whatnot. So, you know, I'm not trying to knock all these in itself.
Well, I've never been in one. We don't have one here. But I saw a video about them and I thought about it and I kind of looked at it. My father was in the grocery business for 35 years. His entire adult career, once he got out of the Navy, he was in the grocery business. And we have become accustomed to, and you and I have talked about this, we have become accustomed to so many damn choices. We're to the point of vapor lock half the time. And it's like your typical Walmart stocks 50,000 items. So you've got 50,000 choices to make every time you walked in there. And the choice is yes or no. And yeah, they know nothing happens in a grocery store by accident. They know you came in for bread and milk. That's why they put bread on one side of the store and milk on the other side of the store. You have to walk through the entire store to get back to the dairy department to get your milk. And then the meat is about halfway. And then the bakery's up towards the front. Maybe the produce is there with it or off to the side. But they know that and they strategically place things far enough away to where you have to go through the whole store to get the 5 things you came for.
Hmm.
Because they know if the more they can put between you and what you want, the more likely you are to grab something off the shelf and put in your basket that you didn't go for. They're always after that impulse buy.
Well, I worked in many retail scenarios,
Mhm.
and worked with planograms in order to set up end
Mhm.
caps and aisles. I was an independent contractor doing that for years, um, where I would do different locations. It could be a shopping mall store
Mhm.
or a 7-Eleven or anything. I went everywhere. I worked on cigar displays,
Yeah.
working from plans, reorganizing whole shelves because it's all
Yeah.
about getting those. So I worked in that,
Mhm.
um, and and grocery stores too. But by the time
Mhm.
I did most of the grocery stores, instead of doing that, I was filling up pool cleaning
Yeah.
products or pool servicing products for the most part.
Right.
Um, so I have in the past retail experience, and you don't forget that,
Yeah.
because I did it for years. But this leads to the sort of my complaint with AI that I was talking about in the past,
Oh, okay.
in the green room. So, and I don't even know how to paste this all together because I know I have the complaint, but now I have to resurface the actual data in my head. So, my issue is, which we've talked about, but there's details. I'm just trying to bring it up by saying it out loud. My issue is how much with um, that you just said, and this computer world that we exist in as well. How much are we being swayed when we have a particular session online in subtle ways? Some people have made suggestions that, and again, this kind of goes to Greg's thing, but I don't want to touch on that now. That we're put signals or choices out of a selection
Mhm.
that don't mean anything in themselves ultimately within themselves, but they're just little nudges, like when you play pinball and the ball strikes one of those
Yeah.
things and it bounces you.
Mhm.
um how much is the average person aware, or you yourself, or the folks out here in the chat, of how much we're being manipulated? I can say, and I'll stop now and let me just finish this and to hear what you say. I can say that the trick is that, I think, is, if you don't if you say you're not manipulated at all, I call bull crap on that, because to whatever degree, because the problem about manipulation is that you don't know that it's happening to you. You don't know that it's being done to you. You could take the stance yourself or myself, whatever, that, well, I am a thoughtful, considerate person as I navigate this world around me. I don't think that's sufficient. I think that the labyrinth and the propaganda machine for purchasing things for anything, but like let's say, is so, it's reality building, so it creates narratives that one doesn't bother arguing with, just in the right amounts. So we don't really know when and where we're being manipulated. Sometimes we are, but other times not. So that's my thought. What do you think?
Um, I think there's a lot to unpack there, but I think we can come to the agreement that we are all being manipulated in some way or another from several different directions every day, whether we're aware of it or not. If you keep seeing ads on your Facebook feed for a certain granola and you go out shopping, you're going to notice that granola label because you've seen it so many times. Now, whether you're aware of that or not, it's going to stand out. Um, but I'll go back to Getty Lee. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. So even if you resist that advertising blitz to get you to grab that box of granola, seeing that box of granola there on the shelf, having never paid attention to it before, you've acknowledged subconsciously that that manipulation has worked because you now notice it. You now see it. We're manipulated from a bunch of different angles every day and have been since advertising was um, invented. I mean, the first jingles for products were not on radio or television because neither one had been invented. They would actually be so handed out with the product. So you had the music and the words. So you had a little song to sing, okay, I'm buying this kind of flour for my baking, whatever. Because they knew that the more you put a product into somebody's mind, the more likely they are to notice that product, think about that product, and they're more likely to grab that product off the shelf. But putting that into practice in a grocery store, for example, they know the center of the aisle, eye level, it is the most valuable real estate because certain people will never look up and they'll never look down. Most women know that the lower on the shelves things are, the cheaper they are. The higher on the shelves things are, the more expensive they are. When men go shopping, they'll tend to look up and go, oh, this is more expensive. It's got to be better than this crap. I'll grab this. They know most women are going to look lower and say, no, I'll buy the store brand tomato sauce because it's 10 cents a can cheaper than this stuff here that's a national brand.
Wait
And
a
the people that don't give a damn will grab the national brand off the center.
Wait a second. Okay. I don't know that you can attribute that to men. We're
Well, it's a generalization, but the data does bear it out that most of the people that grab stuff off the top shelf that's more expensive are men. That women do it too, but most of them are men. Women tend to be a little bit more money conscious when it comes to buying groceries for the family, and they'll grab from the bottom. Next time you go into Walmart, take a look. You'll see Campbell's soup in the middle. You'll see the Great Value Walmart brand down below.
I was fine until you threw that in.
And then you'll see the more expensive Progresso and things like that up in the top, just in the soup aisle. But it's a generalization, yes, but the data does bear it out. That so getting right in the middle of eye level is the most valuable real estate because overwhelmingly more people will pull from the middle than go up above or down below.
I don't have a problem with none of that. The only problem that I
Oh.
have is when you said that men
Mhm.
generally will buy the most expensive thing. It doesn't sound right.
No.
I'm not saying it's true or not true. I'm just saying it sounds not right. Instinctively.
Think about when you go to buy power tools. You may be okay with buying a Harbor Freight cordless screwdriver, but don't you think that DeWalt is a little bit better? We have a value for dollar kind of a thing in us, the same as women do, but we tend to think that the one that's not the most expensive, but it's a little bit more.
Dude, we shouldn't go in this direction because here's my problem with that.
Go ahead. Well, there are always exceptions, man, but go for it.
Okay, but all right. So if we're talking food, so the problem is this reach for the reach for value, men reach for value, the most expensive, the best it is. It seems unthoughtful, and I don't feel that it's right. I could be proven wrong if the data shows that, but let's see. But I feel that there's something terrible with that. I feel that that's the case. That's why I'm making the objection out loud without knowing that it's true or not. I would accept whatever the data is for that data, But if a man goes to, if a man is a construction type guy or maker type guy, and they're into that, and they go to a home box store, they're looking at quality. They're going. They're looking at the wall. There's word of mouth. I get it. But if you're in a supermarket or if you're in a clothes store, a man under the category of men are buying the most expensive slacks.
I didn't say the most expensive. I said the more expensive.
The more expensive.
They'll tend to go for the more expensive.
And let's
go for some of them do, but fewer women than men do that. Let's look at clothes. We're looking at the El Cheapo Walmart brand 6 pairs of boxer shorts in the one big, and a number of men, a huge percentage, are fine with that. But they also know there's another percentage of men that don't want the store brand. They want the Fruit of the Loom, or they want the Hanes, or they want the Calvin Kleins. That's why Walmart sells the Calvin Kleins, because they know men will buy them. They think that with that name on it, it's somehow better quality. And they're willing to pay $22 for 6 pairs of socks, where you and I pay $11.
Dude, now you're okay. Look.
See? But it goes the same with the food. If it's Campbell's and it's $1.10 a can, but up above here, there's Progresso. It's $1.35 a can. Well, up there's another brand, and that's $4.75. Screw that. I'll get the Progresso. It's only 25 cents more than the Campbell's, and everybody has Campbell's. And I'm not even going to notice the great value.
Okay. I'm just gonna say this, and I guess because I have a big problem with the category of taking up. So I'll just say this: if you take the category of men, we could do the same with women, but let's just take the category of men. There's the category of men, and that means that there's some sex biological features that are occurring there, which also comes along with some sort of testosterone levels on average that occurs. Well, let me make my argument of why this is a problem for me. So now you have this gender that's called men, and we can do the same for women. And now we're taking that, and then below that, there's men that have cash to burn, less cash to burn, and destitute. Let's say there's more categories within that, but let's just say for the argument's sake.
Okay.
And then within that, on the category of destitute, they get what they can. On the category of more or less trodden along, paddling along, there's a category of food, category of clothes, category of toys that they like, category of entertainment, and categories. They may have preferences, even though they're under the category of men, but those men may have preferences that don't align with them purchasing the most expensive things, even though they're in the middle bracket. But they might splurge on one category, like let's say tools or music gear. But
I'm not denying that.
But well, let me finish my argument. Now, on the high-end people, you might think they have money to splurge, so why not grab everything that's more expensive? Because boy, but it turns out, I mean, I've seen it, that it doesn't necessarily follow that because they have enough sufficient money to burn that they're going to purchase the best of slacks. Some people don't do that, even though they fall under this. So what I'm trying to get at is that, and you could do the same for women, that I don't know And I know you threw in on average, but I don't like the on average and then tossing in the category that men go for the most expensive. That doesn't represent me.
I
And I
didn't
know
say men go. You said men go for the most expensive. I said men will go for the slightly more expensive because they think that a higher price gets them better quality.
I think it's a s- I think it's no, I think that what by saying that, you're saying that women are more clever in their
No,
financial decisions.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all.
Well, because if you're gonna discount, you're gonna say, oh, this is more expensive, therefore we go for that on average. But
Mhm.
women are more, no, let's look at everything. Oh, here's one that's I don't know that that's the case with.
It is different psychology because a woman tends to do more shopping than a guy does. If unless now you're in a different case because you're a bachelor, you are more price conscious.
But it's
But
not
if a
me.
but if a woman calls a well, but what I'm getting at is you do your own shopping. Okay. I use unit pricing because we both do our own shopping. That's which is a different subject entirely. But if a wife calls a husband and said, "Hey, would you mind stopping at the store? I need 2 cans of tomato sauce. I need the 6 ounce cans of tomato sauce. Grab me two of them and grab me 2 cans of mushrooms. I want slices. I don't want pieces and stems." He's gonna go, and he's not the one that does the shopping. He's gonna look, and he's going to just grab, okay, these are 6 ounce cans, grab two of those, and there's the slice. Here's two of these. And he's going to get the hell out of there. On average, he's going to go for something that's slightly higher in price than the also rans. On average.
I don't know that that's true.
Well, that's what the data shows. And that's why
What
the
data?
shelves are, huh?
What data?
The
I have
data
a pro-
that
I have a problem with this.
well, you can have all the problems you'd like. I'm just telling you the data shows this is how people tend to shop. Not
But
everybody.
where did you see that?
I've seen that in every grocery store I have ever
No,
been in.
where's that
And
data?
again, that you can get the data by the surveys the grocery stores run. You can get the data from the grocery store tracking how people shop. You can get the data by observing. You can go watch your on your own. When a man looks at a shelf, he's going to tend to look up. Men are also taller than women on average. Eye level again, remember, just people watch. The guys will tend to reach up for things where women will tend to reach down. Just people watch. I'm telling you, just people watch.
Yeah, but that's not
Where
number one. People watch. Mark, okay, we have. I think the pro. Okay, I'll just say what my problem is. Well, which you already know. It's this categorization of men, and I know you're using the on average, but then my question is, honestly, my question is, where is this on average occurring now? Because you're saying it with such authority, right? And if and then you're one of the options you gave me. One of the options you gave me is to people watch, but it does not. It If I were to people watch, I would be people watching in the city of Sweetwater,
Mhm.
as opposed to the contiguous other 49 states and much of Florida, other than just the Sweetwater, and
Okay.
even that in one supermarket of Sweetwater. So where is that data that
Well, do you
men?
okay? Well, let me answer that. Do you think the Publix in your town is sharing information with their headquarters? You think the Publix in Jacksonville is sharing information with their headquarters?
Of course,
They're
yeah.
putting all of this together. They know where they put stuff on the shelves.
Yeah, my problem is not that they
Okay.
know where they put
Okay.
stuff on the shelf. My problem
Let
is
me
that
let me finish the thought. Do you have one of their little shopping carts that you scan to get a little bit of a discount when you go grocery shopping? You don't have one?
no.
I bet you 90% of the people in the store do. And they know what you bought. They know what you bought. The minute you scan that, they know exactly what you bought.
But I'm not. That's not my argument that they know.
Okay. They also know where they put that on the shelf. So they can collect that data, they can collate that data, and they can say with authority that overwhelmingly men buy higher up on the shelves, women buy lower down, and a certain percentage buy straight from the center. Now, if you go shopping specifically for Heinz ketchup, you don't care where it is on the shelf. You're going to go in and you're going to grab the bottle of Heinz ketchup you want. You're not even going to notice the Hunts or the store brand or anything else.
My argument is where is on on average men buy the more expensive thing because it's value and so they reach for the higher part of
And
the shelf, and it just, I don't know, man. If it's there, it's there. I don't
I
particularly.
will look for the studies and forward them to you. And if I find the studies that I'm thinking about, and I want to say this was through Nielsen, but I may be wrong. I will link them over on the Trampled Underfoot podcast Facebook page.
Yeah,
But
because it just goes.
give me a day or two to find it
No. What, look,
because I
when you
haven't looked for
can,
it in years.
either way. I mean, but it.
Well, where I was going with this whole thing was with AI getting involved now, I don't know if or how that's going to change because they make all these decisions based on what their market research has shown them in the past has been the trends. But when you introduce machine learning into this, what direction is it going to go? Are they even going to think about using AI for something like this? I think that's where you're going with the whole AI introduction into this was how are we going to be manipulated even
Yeah.
further?
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to placement on something as stupid as placement on a store shelf, is that going to also be a part of that? Are they going to quickly discover that it doesn't make any sense to have the coffee on its own aisle and just put it on the end caps? Or is that going to tell them, no, they need more coffee? They need a whole aisle dedicated to nothing but coffee and put the tea on another aisle. We don't know what that's going to do to our lives as a whole. And how are they going to manipulate us to get us to come into the store more often and stay in the store? You know?
um Leaving the previous thing about that notion of what one group or the other does on average when it comes to purchasing, just for half a second, or actually for now, um and addressing the AI. um how do we even know, even away from purchasing, which obviously became a touchy subject for me, and
Mm-hmm.
again, not because I disagree with any of your premises, other, because I understand the placement, this and that. The only one was that gender situation of them, and we'll discuss that,
Mm-hmm.
later. But how do we even know with AI what exactly is real and what exactly is AI manipulated when it comes to not only advertisement for things, but within the realm of people putting out material such as for political or news or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot? How can we really say what is real and what is not when they can fake it?
And that's the whole conundrum that we have because the true test of successful AI is you don't know that it's AI. You know, if you listen to some of these AI YouTube channels, you only have to listen to the voice for a few seconds. You know it's an AI voice. That's not a person reading that because they will say some things that are just incorrect. The way they pronounce a word wrong, or if somebody forgets to put a space in the script, they'll say the dot. They'll say instead of it being a period, they'll say, and he went dot, then came back, or something like that. you can tell it's an AI voice.
Can you always tell?
No, not always, because they are getting better. That's the whole thing, and that's the litmus test for a good AI, is that you don't know that it is AI.
Well, that's the point that I'm trying to make. So if
and
you
and
don't,
and and that's where I'm going with that exactly,
okay,
because nobody's going to be able to tell.
hmm
So we're kind of at a crossroads, and we almost have to start suspending disbelief.
I did
And
that a long time ago for the most part, or for
yeah,
a good part.
well, I mean, think about it. We are getting to the point, and I asked about this a couple of years ago. We are getting to the point to where we can't trust photographs or video.
There's a quality, like you were saying, even to photographs. So the
Hmm.
audio part, video part that you're talking about, where they'll say and da 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 dot, and then you could make, no human would generally do that,
Do that, yeah.
unless there's a reason for it. Well, you can see that with the pictures because there's an actual quality to certain
Hmm.
pictures that we already can detect is coming from possibly AI.
Hmm.
However, that only applies to what we can suss out
Hmm.
as being generated from AI. But
Exactly.
if on aggregate, under various topics, be it photograph, video, voiceovers, special effects, any number of things, news, they can write the perfect script roughly,
Sure.
and we whatever we can't suss out, we don't know that it's fake or that it's
Hmm.
AI. And so what do we know? How can we know
We
what's
can't.
being thrown into our space, into our court, is real
We
or is
can't.
truthful?
We can't. And that's why I say we're at a crossroads. And that's why I'm saying we're going to have to start suspending disbelief, mainly because we won't be able to tell what's real and what isn't real if we're not seeing it in person live with our own eyes. If I can take a video of you walking out in your front yard and then use AI to make you slam dunk a basketball, at the playoffs, and then show it to your family, who are they to say that never happened? Well, they may know you, they may know you don't play basketball, but they're seeing it with their own eyes. If it's that good, you have to suspend disbelief
So
because you're kind of choiceless.
if you take a figure, a person, it could be an average regular human being,
Hmm.
like public at large type person, you or I or anybody.
Hmm.
And today, through AI, extra information is added to you or I,
Hmm.
um, videos and photographs and comments and concepts, and just adding extra stuff onto you.
Hmm.
10 years from now, 20 years from now, a person looking back investigating you,
Yeah,
where or how are they going to be able to differentiate what was Mark actually and what was the extra stuff attached to Mark,
yeah,
for the purposes of politics, for the purposes of whatever,
yeah.
um,
Character assassination or
character
whatever.
assassination, or character embellishment. Oh,
Yeah.
I sailed the seven seas, and
Hmm.
here's the proof because here's my
Yeah.
signed
Yeah.
stamped.
Here's me shaking hands with a penguin on Antarctica. Yeah. I mean, we're not going to be able to tell.
Well, we don't know what all is going to be, but the point
Hmm.
is that they're adding stuff that's
Hmm.
not true.
Hmm.
If when they add stuff that's not true, they claim it as such in a description in a video or in the title of a post, this has been generated through AI. If they come clean,
Hmm.
if they, or in a movie they give the credits AI generated explosions, like just in general,
Hmm. Well,
um then, even though, well, let me just say this, even though a viewer of that movie will not investigate the credits to find out that that one explosion in that one section was
Yeah.
AI generated.
Yeah.
And you might think, well, that doesn't matter, Eloy. That's ridiculous. Well, wait. The principle is at stake here.
Yeah. I'm
And
with you.
no, here's the thing: you may not care that that explosion in that movie was a fake explosion, and it sounds like a silly thing. It's an explosion, whatever. But if you transfer it to any other topic, we're just going to use the explosion. A friend of yours can come along and say, dude, you know, that explosion, I didn't like that one because it was AI generated. And then you're like, no, dude. And you can say, hey, well, look, dude, it's in the credits.
Mhm.
You can point to the source that explains that what you were viewing. So even though they tricked the one guy and it's
Mhm.
just a simple movie, why not do an AI generated explosion that might prevent lives from getting? I get it. But the point is this: if the topic arises where a headbutting begins over a topic, you can then point to the descriptors that say, hey, this was AI. I have no problem with that one.
Mhm.
With that one. What I have a problem with is fraud. Fraud.
Well, I have a problem with fraud as well, and I don't think anybody in their right mind would be like, well, no, let's look at the other side of that. Now, I think we're all pretty much against fraud, but it's going to be harder and harder to tell. It's going to be harder and harder to pinpoint. Now, if if there's a video of your corner store blowing up using the explosion, you can walk down and you can see the corner store still there. You know that's a lie. And they don't even need AI to do that anymore. With CGI, I mean, we don't have to be told that Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians of the Galaxy is CGI. We don't need to be told that. We don't need to suspend disbelief on that. We know this is obviously fiction. You know, a raccoon, A, can't talk, B, can't pilot a spaceship that C, doesn't exist. So, but we know that that is CGI. Where the problem comes in is when we're not talking about fiction, or we take fiction and present it as real things. And that's being done already. It has been done for,
As
you
long
know,
as long
quite
as
a while.
as long as the fiction
Mhm.
is somewhere on the margin notes, is they explain somewhere, you can trace back where that was produced. This is for people that are on the up and up trying to solve a movie problem like Rocket Raccoon or
Mhm.
whatever. And you might think, well, it's obvious because there's no creature that acts like
Right, exactly.
in reality. But that's that.
Mhm.
But in the case of information being
Well,
introduced,
that's what I mean about making up, fabricating something and presenting it as fact.
well, here's the thing. We don't know. Okay, we know that there's now this thing called AI. We know that they can introduce. So instead of introducing a Rocket Raccoon
Mhm.
in a movie, you can introduce enough tilting of of the steering of the ship in subtle ways.
Mhm.
Instead of doing a full bloom AI everything,
Mhm.
they could do subtle little things
Mhm.
throughout these mediums in order to begin to steer a ship in a direction
Yeah.
that if you walk into Baskin and Robbins,
Mhm.
and this applies for every other thing in my for my point, you have 31 flavors
Mhm.
on average. On
Yeah.
average, because some Baskin and Robbins, that's not the case. I remember in the past, but on average, so here um, you can't ask for spaghetti ice cream because they don't have that on the list of the things. So you can ask for spaghetti ice cream all you want, but that's not part of the 31 flavors. It may sound ridiculous, but here's my point: that what we're offered as far as information in our minds, little by little, we select what we
Yeah.
prefer. So they're offering options bracketed within the options that they're offering, and then we choose from that. And I'm suggesting that those aren't all those suggestions of you that you can choose from is not all that's there, and potentially it's leading us astray in little ways, and a human can't deal with that.
Well,
We're supposed to receive information on the up and up. Okay, oh, so that happened with that train the other day. Oh, okay. Not you. It's not natural, or maybe it is natural, but it doesn't seem right that someone comes to you, hey, that train, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z the other day, and then you say, oh well, okay, to later find out that the guy's bull crapping you from beginning to end. It does. It doesn't fit in how things should go. We know it exists. People lie, but now we have this computer situation, this AI thing. Um, it, it's a big problem. It's a big problem, in my opinion. In my opinion.
well, it could become a very big problem. And the worst part of it is we're relying on people to not start doing that. Well, if you're in a position to do something, are you going to do it? I mean, it's often been said that padlocks just keep honest people honest. That if somebody wants to get in there, they'll get in there. And I think there's an element of truth in that.
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of sort of the same thing. You would really have to want to do that in order to do that. Because I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we're getting there. I think it's dangerously close. But who can say? And here's the main problem. Who is going to be the final arbiter on what is right and what is wrong when it comes to this stuff? I think that's a bigger problem than the ability to do it.
So the ability to do it is only no. The tool is only a tool, just like with guns and with every other
Mhm.
thing, just like with a weed plant.
Yeah.
All it is just a freaking weed plant. It's what you do with it that then creates the next
Exactly
thing.
my point. But then but somebody has to sit up above that and decide this is right and this is wrong. I'm not comfortable with that.
Let me give you the ultimate example of why I even in the green room and this, because this is where the actual nucleus of the example of why I even brought it up. I'm in a group
Mhm.
that's a debate discussion group on Facebook. And I've interacted with various people across weeks now. And as I've gone, I've, in good faith, put forth my arguments and by all means discredit them step by step as I lay them out, if you can. My intention is not that I'm right. My intention is dispel this problem, which I find to be true, argue against it, prove that this is incorrect so that we can move forward. If you decide to step in to argue with me, then focus on the issue. But
Mhm.
what they started doing was bringing in all sorts of weird sideshows, not addressing the topic. And I was like, man, this is. Are we in a am I in a desert? Because this is a group that's supposed to be about discussion, this and that, and we're no one is willing to to un unknot that twine. No one is no one's willing to create clarifications. It just let's add more confusion as opposed to clarity. There's a difference between clarification and 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 adding confusion that results in trapping a person or their idea or the concept for them and for others, for the discussion in itself, into this deep pit of darkness. And then there's clarity, which is a rope leading you out. You may not get out, but you're heading in the right direction by by swatting away irrational concepts over one topic or the next. Well, here's somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, dude, I'm paraphrasing. You do know that a lot of these people, including the moderators, some of them, are simply using AI to reply to you.
Yeah.
They're not thinking
Yep.
themselves.
Yep.
They are taking your words, I'm paraphrasing, to give you a response that they didn't come up with. You're arguing basically with AI."
Well, how easy is it to use Chat GPT to come up with a reply to this, to response to this?
But you see that.
Yeah, I do. I get it. But you also you're also operating under the presumption that they want any of that clarity.
No,
I
am.
personally, I don't think they're interested in clarity at all. I think they're interested in making their point and being right. That's all they're interested in. They don't care what you actually think.
Let's stop for half a second with that. I have no problem with what you just said. But that's on a basis by basis scenario.
Case by case basis, yeah.
Based on the person you're interacting with. Once they've shown and proven to you, if your patience is 1 to 2 to 3 comments or a handful, that's your business or my business. But there's a threshold that everybody has that beyond that it becomes useless. But first they have to show that their intentions are not, I don't know, in good faith or on the up and up. Once that threshold is met, then that individual you can discard, in my opinion, at my threshold of that. But final thing here, on average and above average in that group, in that specific thing, according to my experience of what I've seen with people interacting, all those things into account, it's a desert.
Yeah, they do. They just want to get their opinion out there and be right, and that's all.
It's a shell.
They're not interested in any substantive discussion. They're not interested in clarity.
And that's why
I don't even bother.
It doesn't look that way.
Yeah. You're fighting the tide with a broom.
But here's the bit. It doesn't necessarily follow that just because that's my experience in that group, that would be the case across most groups. But I could reasonably argue that, or opine that has to be true in many groups, since this is a small sampling of what's possibly out there. But I don't have access to all that's out there that would fit my criteria for proper dialogue back and forth in these groups. Well, let me get to the point. The point is that as a sampling, and according to what I see out there in other dialogues on YouTube and this and that, and I know that all comes with what it comes with.
Sure.
But in the ocean of what is that I'm capable of paddling to, or have been able to paddle to, one or the other, or a little bit of both, it's a desert.
Then why are you there?
Desert.
Then why are you there? I would probably come to the same conclusion you have come to. These people are vacuous. They don't want substantive discussion. They just want to argue. You know, if you say black, they're going to say white. If you say blue, they're going to say green. They don't want to talk. They just want to argue. So, fine, gone. not this cowpoke. Next. I'm not saying that those groups don't exist. There may be some groups of people who genuinely want to discuss an issue. But the problem is find them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to explain. What I'm explaining is that from my imagine the Pacific Ocean. Now let's do the Atlantic as it's warmer.
Depends on where you're at.
You're on a raft. Well, that's true. Let's say the Caribbean. But whatever, it doesn't matter. You're on the ocean. You're floating on a raft. My area of paddling. So this is my opinion according to what I've seen.
Yeah.
You're basically in a vast ocean and there's nothing. Yeah. In terms of let's be honest with the question and let's take it piece by piece over whatever the topic might be, you know. It's usually politics in that place. And so in order to get to the finish line in an argument or a problem posed, in order to get to the finish line, you can make up your own rules. Anybody can make up their own rules. Well, in order for me to get to the finish line, my finish line is my opinion is what rules, and that's the end. And that would be the end for you. But that doesn't mean that you're correct. You could be, even with that narrow thing of not wanting to interact with. I get it. You could be, but then again, you wouldn't know it because you're not running the metal through the crucible. You're not walking across the fire with your idea, with your this. You're just saying, well, I'm right. So that's one extreme. Another extreme is a little bit of patience to interact, but once you take cues or you fit words into other people's mouths, so that you can then retroactively say, no, you're wrong, because of an internal dialogue that you worked out with that person you're contending with in order to win the day. So there's all these different psychological processes that people go through. But logic, and nobody's perfect. But the point is that as opposed to even an attempt to do any step-by-step, well, look, yes, I'm biased on this topic, but I feel that this, and this are good arguments and stuff, you know, and what do you think? And then the person comes back, okay, well, look, I have a problem with this argument and this one. I see what you're saying here. Like, you're trying to work it out and giving example. You're trying to, with honesty and good faith. Well, it's a desert.
You're looking for honesty and good faith on the internet. There are a lot of people who would say, what a silly boy. Have fun. I mean, you know, all I'm getting at is this. It doesn't matter if you're in the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean. Eventually, you're going to put your head under the surface and you're going to look down and notice you're not the top of the food chain. That there's a lot of ugly crap happening down there under the surface.
No,
and I think that and that's what it looks like when people get defensive or they think they're being attacked over something. They don't. Again, I'm saying they don't want clarity. They don't want to discuss concepts. They want to be right. They want to get their opinion out. That's it. And if you don't agree with that opinion, you're the problem.
Yeah. Well, look, and
I don't mean any of this as an insult. I mean this as to say I am that cynical. I don't even bother.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Well, you did say that you made an example. You said, oh, you're looking for honesty and this and that on the internet. Some would say, what a silly boy.
Yeah.
Well, look, I could walk to the corner station and wait for someone to come along to talk a discussion and this and that.
Barbershop.
And then come
the barbershop.
Yeah, the barbershop. I could walk over to the I don't know, bingo hall, and then the internet exists. People talk on the internet. I expect that, well, my conclusion is that there's an empty ocean or a desert.
Yeah.
When it comes to this. So
I agree.
so, but I didn't say I expected one thing or the other. Yes,
Yeah.
there is an expectation that there are people out there that exist that will sit and think, what is the truth of the matter? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Whether on my life raft in thousands and thousands of miles
Mhm.
that I encounter people like that or not in these groups is another question. And my
Yeah.
answer to that is that thus far, well, there are some examples of people that are willing to go the mile, but by and large, yeah, there are some examples. Like
Yeah.
it's not like everybody there. But what I'm saying is that what I come across most often
Mhm.
is that you were saying that use of I want to be right and that's it.
Mhm.
That's the most often
Mhm.
thing that I come across in my little section of the ocean. That's what I come across. But
Because
remember, one final thing. But remember, the idea of of and this is all two things. One, this is all in the context of it's just an attempt on my side, an attempt. It's not that I'm successful at figuring one thing out or the next,
Mhm.
but I'm attempting because that's just how I am.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Number two, there are other people out there
No
across
doubt.
across history that have thought about thinking and about clarity. They've written books on it. Hell, it goes back thousands of years to
Well, I'm
Greek.
I'm not
Greek
I'm not doubting
no, I'm
that.
not, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not saying you. I'm saying broadly, like
I'm just saying that I don't think you're going to find that on Facebook. There may be some debate forums where there is a moderation standard that goes beyond just keep it family friendly. There may be some debate forums out there that are looking for that are the type that you're looking for, that have people that want to sit down and actually discuss a concept or an idea or a philosophy or what have you.
no. It's
I
not that
just
I'm
don't know where to find them.
okay, but let's correct this one thing.
Mhm.
It's not that I'm looking
Mhm.
and that I'm not looking. Obviously, to a degree, I'm looking to have a conversation
Sure.
about one topic or the other to do with politics or this or that.
Mhm.
And I've stated my purpose,
Mhm.
um, and I've acknowledged that I come prepackaged with bias. So fighting
Mhm.
the bias is an internal thing that one does in order
Sure.
to reach the truth of an idea or that, and that's an impossible snaking around because we are in our paradigm.
Yeah.
So there's a whole thing. But how deep one's paradigm is varies from person to person. Some people literally believe certain things are the way they are because of the natural order of this, and that, without questioning the natural order of this, and that. Okay, everybody's on different things. I'm not suggesting boo hoo, there's nobody out there. There are some people.
Mhm.
I'm just, all I'm saying here, I'm not saying, oh, boo hoo, I can't, find somebody to contend with and this and that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I get it.
Although that's thrown in the mix, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in that my little area
Mhm.
of exploration, what I see typical is that there is no attempt at
Yeah,
rigor when it comes to people being challenged over their ideas.
absolutely.
So that's all I'm saying. So it's a desert
Absolutely.
in that respect. But yeah,
Absolutely.
there are
Because you
some.
also have to factor in the anonymity of the keyboard. I'm never going to meet you. You're never going to meet me. You may see my profile picture, but you don't know where I live because I don't have to put that information on my Facebook profile. So I can tell you to pound sand in 15 different languages and call you every name under the book. And I don't have any investment. There's no consequence for my behavior. Maybe a moderator will get mad and boot me out of that group, but there's 1,000 more. I'll go rattle somebody else's chain. When you stop being fun, I'll move on. That kind of thing. And there's way too much of that, which is why I now call them unsocial media or anti-social media, because I think that's a primary feeder of that, of antisocial behavior. But I'm right, you're wrong, and my mind can't be changed, and you're somehow lesser of a human being because you don't agree lockstep with everything I have to say.
Some ideas are so radically different than what we are used to
Mm-hmm.
that are the first impression is to attack it and disable it quickly. Okay, but some ideas that are foreign to us,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say how many, I'm just talking broadly. I could make some specific arguments for one idea or the other that I may not have accepted prior. I have included into my own arguments. In fact, I can use something not even that controversial here with us, you and I speaking.
Mm-hmm.
There's many things that you've said that I've rejected in various conversations, but after processing it, giving it time to stew, I've found a way to incorporate reason different from what I was focused on. Because the problem is that if you and I are in an argument, I call it argument, you call it discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same difference for me. You and I are in an argument over a topic,
Mm-hmm.
and you produce information that is not in line with where my choo-choo train is heading
Mm-hmm.
of ideas. Um, to factor your stuff in is to have extra payload, extra cargo on my choo-choo train heading down the lane. And once you introduce extra stuff, no, Mark, no, my choo-choo train is going in this direction. You're trying to add more freaking coal onto that back. No,
Yeah.
Mark. Um, but what I've done various times and included into my thing, not that it makes me better or worse or this or that. It's just that I've taken the time to ponder. It takes time sometimes. Is that I've included? I'll give you one example specific. When we were talking about, I forget the thing, but it's like, well, Mark, what if, I don't know if it was the if we found out that this was an example. Mark, if you found out that the Earth was actually flat, not that it is or not,
Mm-hmm.
or that aliens or not, or that lizard people are not. It was just an example to see how your
Mm-hmm.
psychology would work in that situation. So, well, if you found out, wouldn't that change just absolutely everything about the way you see the world and this and that? And you came out with this terrible freaking thing in light of what. And to be fair, you weren't entertaining what I was trying to say as far
Mm-hmm.
as it could go, because you really weren't. But even though you weren't willing to go that way, I still took your thoughts and hitched it on my onto my backpack, and it took time to see how can I fit that in there. Well, anyways, and you said to me, "Oh, Eloy," something along the lines of, "I'm still gonna have to live my life. I still have to buy my things. I still have to. So how is that gonna change this, or that? I'm
Yeah.
still gonna have to do this." I couldn't deal with that at the moment. Not because I didn't understand. Not because I didn't understand what you were saying. I understood the first time you said it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, well, Mark, but look at my scenario here and understand this. You weren't at that time necessarily willing to do that. You were on your thing, which
Well,
I'm still gonna. It doesn't matter if 5 volcanoes pop out of the ocean all around me. I'm still gonna have to eat. That's true. Anyways, let me tie it up. I took your concept and
mm-hmm.
sat with it, and although it's simple, this is simple.
Yeah, very simple.
Because you do need to eat. You still, no matter what the
Yeah.
scenario is.
My point was that my life, if it's always been that way, we find out that, oh no, it's not round, it's flat. Well, that I have to presume that it's always been that way. How does that change my life? It doesn't.
Right, and you're still doubling down with your thing. In any event, it doesn't matter. You're still doubling down with your thing. But that's, I don't think that's necessarily.
That was my point at the time, but that's what I was.
Okay, fair. So I took that
Mm-hmm.
and incorporated with and agreed with it and accepted it. And I brought it up various times before that I agreed with it, because I do. There is this thing which you stated at that point, that no matter what the scenario is, and it may sound simple, but it's a truism, and it has to be taken into account within the thing. I mean, it wasn't where I was going with the conversation, but the point is that no matter that my parents and my grandparents had to leave their island, and that was an upset completely.
Right.
In that process of them getting up and going, they still had to eat. They still had to find a place to sleep. They still required the necessities, the this and that. The part where I break from your assessment is that nothing changes. Well, nothing changes in that aspect, that you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to, in that aspect. But in this aspect of viewing the world, things do change if things change, because it doesn't matter if
sure.
It doesn't matter if aliens arrive on your doorstep, or if I don't know, the Beatles get back together. It still has reverberations in significant ways.
And I admitted that at the time. I said, yes, the history books will all have to be rewritten now. We will have to think about a new paradigm. It would be a mind shift that would have to occur. But as far as day-to-day life, it wouldn't change anything. Well, because obviously it's not like a meteor is going to strike the earth. Now that is going to affect everybody. That is huge.
Yeah, but you're going into the same. Okay, look.
But I did admit, yes, it is going to shake up a lot of things. There's a lot of things about science that's going to have to be re-examined. The history books, again, are going to have to be rewritten. A lot of things are going to be turned topsy-turvy. Yeah. But how will it affect my life? Me at this stage of my life? It's not really.
Yeah, but guess what? You have a brain.
And it's going to take some messing with, and it's going to take some thinking seriously to kind of come to grips with that.
And that's all. And that's what I was saying. And if you weren't Mark Lindsay and you were the local priest down at the bingo hall, or if you were Mark Lindsay and you were the leader of this youth group that believes X, Y, and Z, that flies in the face of, it just, look.
Yeah.
I had one point, but my point in this, bringing it up, is that you suggested things that my train wasn't.
You wasn't ready to pick up that baggage,
right? Because I was on some other trip, but I took it just the same and found the best use scenario for it and accepted it at the end, because it is a truism and it's very much true. And in fact, so much so that I apply it in other areas, because it's, look, here's the thing. A silliness that you might think is a silliness for you as a reply, maybe not. I don't know that is. I'm not trying to suggest, but I'm saying a toss away something or an idea that comes to mind for you is what I'm more getting at. That you toss into our conversation. You may think it's just a toss away. But anytime you interact with people, and even if, well, let me say it like this. Anytime you interact with people, or anytime you interact with me, I can't even speak for people because I really can't. I consider your statements sooner or later. Okay? And why do I do that? Because I recognize you and everyone out here as living beings with something called a consciousness, and something's percolating in there. I don't have the driver's seat in your mind.
Right.
I may not like the stuff that you come up with, but if you're willing to dish them out, that has consequences. I may deal with it for a little bit or not deal with it at all eventually. But the point is that I recognize that I may be even wrong in this, but there's life out there. There's life out there. I'm living. I exist. I believe that I exist. I believe that other people exist.
I
I may
think
be
therefore
wrong.
I am. Yeah.
I may be wrong about all that, but the point is that I don't just toss other people's stuff away because I'm also brilliant and I can't be wrong. No, I can be wrong. I can be terribly wrong, and I can be wrong more often than not. How do we deal with that? Is by exchanging ideas and learning new things.
But you also have to take in consideration why certain people think the way they do, because we are basically the culmination of our experience. And if you have had a whole slew of bad experiences in one specific direction, you're going to tend to avoid that direction. Just simply because it's like there comes a point where beating your head against a wall is you finally realize that it's a waste of time. I'm going to waste my time over there, so I'm not even going to bother.
That's true.
So with that culmination of experiences going in, I tend to be a little bit more capable and willing to disregard whole avenues that I could use. But I tend to just disregard them because my experience with them has been less than stellar. I'll just put it that way. Mm-hmm. So I find myself in that dichotomy. I am a skeptic. I tend to take information I receive with several pounds of salt, forget about the grains, and I do my research. If the subject is important to me or interesting to me, if it's not, like the method of coffee bean harvest in Colombia is not interesting to me, so I'm not going to put a lot of effort into research. If somebody comes up with a news story that says, hey, they got a new method for harvesting beans in Colombia, I might look at it and go, oh, okay, cool. Give you an example. In the Netherlands, they have started using lasers as scarecrows to scare birds out of their crops. Mm-hmm. I'm not growing crops. I'm not designing lasers. But when I heard they're using lasers in agricultural fields, I was mildly interested. I read the article. Okay, that's cool. That's as far as it went. I'm more willing to look at the shiny thing, notice that it's shiny, think it's cool, and move on to the next thing and not really do a lot of investigation with it. I think most people are the same way, unless it's a topic that they're really either expert in or intrinsically interested in, or something that just fascinates them.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the only issue that I take, which you didn't bring up, I'm attaching it to this.
Okay.
Because I don't have issue with what you just said. Because what you just said is basically one's journey exploring the things that they enjoy. And if something passes through their screen and it's shiny and twinkly, and they say, oh, well, I'll take a look at that for a moment or for a spell, and they decide to do so, that's up to them. Okay. And sometimes in casual conversation, it'll come up again, like you just mentioned it now. And I didn't mention that I ran across that too. which begs the question of what we're being fed, because how the hell you in Oregon, it just, anyways, and me over here, but whatever.
Well, but when did you see it versus when did I see it?
Just like a week ago.
Yeah, this is a couple months ago.
Okay, well, so maybe that gravy train, maybe that.
Well, you got to admit now, you have to admit, we do have varied tastes. We do have different interests.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of interests in common.
Yeah, there's crossover.
So chances are there's a certain percentage of stuff you're looking for that I'm also looking for that made that pop up in the algorithm.
Well, that
and taking it back to AI, how much more of that is going to start happening?
Okay, that may be so, Mark. Okay, well, just because I had another, but whatever. Now
go ahead.
No, now we're screwed because you just said this. Because I had something very good to say before, but it's gone now, so forget it. But that's in the context,
Mm-hmm.
Mark. It's in the context that, yeah, we share these overlaps.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, when you take, again, 330 plus million Americans,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be overlap in
Sure.
tastes in all sorts of strange different ways and whatnot, and this and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
let alone taking the whole world into account over what they get fed on a video
Mm-hmm.
thing. So
Sure.
it begs the question, hell, well, it begs the question. It begs the question, are we being boxed, labeled, quantified, um, stacked, shuffled, collated? And if I had to pick, just guessing, I would say yes to a degree. I don't
Yeah.
know what that degree is, but here, forget. I was gonna say something with what you said, but before, but it's gone now, because it's too past. I can't make a U-turn, unfortunately, because it would have been good. But let me just randomly ask you, just randomly, like quick, have you run into Brian May recently? The guitarist for Queen in any aspect?
No, not
Good.
really. Nothing other than a Queen music video.
So you have.
Yeah, just but in passing,
That's
like
it. Doesn't mean that
I'm
you.
scrolling down the YouTube homepage and
Mhm.
I see, somebody's reacting to Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't feel like listening to that song, but there's an album cover there.
Okay,
You know.
recently, like within the past week or two.
Yeah, about the past week, yeah.
Okay. So forget that whether you entertained it or not. The fact
Hmm.
that it came through your vision,
Right.
because the fact that you click on it is a secondary step.
Hmm.
The presentation for
Right.
you and me is the first step.
Right.
There might be previous steps to that, but let's just say all I'm asking is what's gone by your window, whether you've clicked on it or not. So
Hmm.
you have seen Queen. I have seen Queen.
Yeah.
Um, I can't think of any other thing right now because it's so much crap out there. Uh, there's so
Yeah.
much crap. Um, uh, so let's just drop that. But whatever. My point. I was trying to make an association with a possible, whatever. That we're being fed
Well,
similar.
it is quite possible, but we don't realize it because it's going to depend also on what the subject matter is. But we also have other things to consider, like product placement.
Mhm.
Now, you and I may not be looking for anything that has to do with a specific soft drink. But if a specific soft drink company has ensured that their product is going to be in the background during a video or in just sitting on a shelf
Mhm.
behind somebody that we're watching on YouTube,
Mhm.
or it's the somebody cruising down the road is going to pass a billboard for
Mhm.
that soft drink.
Yeah.
That's that subtle manipulation. It's not a commercial for this soft drink,
Mhm.
but it's there
Yeah.
and you see it a lot.
Yep.
So again, we're getting back into the supermarket because now you're going to notice it's on the shelf. You might buy it, you might not buy it,
Yeah. Let's not go into the supermarket thing.
but your attention it's been brought to your attention, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if all of a sudden you and I are force fed images of bran muffins and we start seeing in our feed bran muffin recipes, 32 reasons bran muffins are the best comfort foods.
Mhm.
And I tried German bran muffins and this happened. Well, where the hell did that come from? Because neither one of us is searching for bran muffins. Where the hell did that come from? Because we watched something that had to do with it, or they're testing us. If they throw it out there enough, will we eventually click on it? Have you found something in your YouTube feed, for example? Have you seen something keep coming up that you are absolutely not interested in,
Oh yeah. Most of the stuff.
but you've never clicked on it? You've never shown any interest in it, and it's way off beat. It's not related to anything that you've been searching for at all.
Not I've not made the I've not made the forgive me, I'm just placing some napkins down because
Sure.
Vigo just laid a pool of pee.
Uh-oh.
he,
Uh-oh. Poor
and
boy.
I didn't detect it. I'm just
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you a for instance. I don't have a laser. There is a laser software called Lightburn. I am seeing videos on how to use this software in my feed coming up. I'm also seeing videos on a specific Windows 11 update. I have never searched for anything Windows 11. I've never searched for updates, but I've got two things popping up in my suggesteds now that are constantly recurring. I've never clicked on one. I've never gone to those channels, but they keep popping up. And it's a different video. It'll be a different channel, but the subject matter is the same. The only conclusion I can come to is this is a test, this is a trial. And maybe this month it's Windows 11 and Lightburn software. Maybe next month it's going to be something else. And I kind of am looking forward to seeing what the hell that might be. It might be funnel cakes next week. I hope so, because I like funnel cakes. But that doesn't mean I'm going to click on the video. It's just that I would enjoy seeing that more than I would Windows 11 capture screens,
But the suggestion is offered you. The Baskin and Robbins 31 flavors is presented before you, and
but if in that Baskin Robbins every other flavor was vanilla, you would get the impression that they were trying to push the vanilla, wouldn't you?
But it wouldn't. Well, or that's all they have for you now based on the algorithm.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if they have 30 vanilla flavors and like a handful of or one
chocolate vanilla, strawberry vanilla, pistachio vanilla, rum raisin vanilla. It's like, wow, we got lots of vanilla here, don't we?
Yes, but you're still purchasing from the same company. You're still acquiring from the same company, and therein lies. That's the same thing with having a limited amount of corporations distributing all the soda pops in the world. Yeah, there's a couple of competing ones, but for the most part, that revenue is going to company A or company B and all their multitude. So what you do is you have 100 different products. They all look different, but they're all going back to the same one thing.
Yeah.
And the same thing with every other thing. News media. There's videos where people, news anchors, I don't know if you've seen this before. They're
I still wouldn't watch spaghetti ice cream. Sounds gross. Spaghetti ice cream is a thing, but not in the way you think it is. It's not spaghetti flavored.
Yeah, it's stringy.
It's strings of, but it looks like a pile of whatever flavor of ice cream.
Have you seen? Oh, there's this one somewhere in Asia where it's a street vendor ice cream guy, and it's a clip. But I don't know why, but I love it because it's something that I would never buy. But he takes the cone and he puts his hand in the ice cream and he puts it on the cone, but then he starts to twirl it. So he makes the shape of how it would come out of the machine, but with his hand.
Does it with his hand? Jeez.
Looking at that, I'm like, holy smokes, dude. See, I don't know how many people do that or not somewhere out there. But I'm so sorry, but it's just now. If it was the last ice cream on earth, that I'd be all in. But in consideration, so anyways, have you seen the videos where they take multiple newscasts from around the country and play it synced, and they're all running through the same script? Have you seen those?
I've not seen those, but I have heard about them. And this is where my cynicism kicks in. It absolutely would not surprise me.
There, you can if you were curious, it's out there. There's plenty of them.
Yeah.
It's as if, well, there are a few companies.
Yeah.
Do you think? Well, this is just a question. I don't know one way or the other. I think it's true, but do you think that they leave the dialogue up for chance with these broadcasters? Not certain ones. If it's the news that, so the way I see it is,
Well,
let me just say,
a lot of them are getting the news from the same wire service, but they're not even bothering to put it in their own language. They're just reading what the wire service fed them.
right. Well, that wire service
Mm-hmm.
has implied bias in it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's human does.
Sure.
But here's the cherry on top. Not that everybody was saying this, but kind of in different variations. During a hurricane 3 to 4 years ago,
mm-hmm.
addressing Floridians at the time, Biden said the best thing that people can do during a hurricane is remember to take their vaccines.
Yeah.
And I could not.
It's like, what the hell does that have to do with a hurricane?
I could not. Yeah.
You want practical advice. Put your shoes on. You may have to run out of the house. You may be stepping on glass. There may be nails. Put your shoes on. That makes sense. Hell, put on a football helmet. That makes sense.
It sounded to me like during this flood situation, don't forget 2-for-1 McBiscuits at your local McDonald's. It sounded like, what the hell, dude?
Brought to you by Snapple. Yeah.
Well, examples of things that don't fit.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to Greg's Nigerian Prince bit, that's one of them. Mm-hmm. It just simply doesn't fit, and that kind of not fitting occurs down the line so many times that you're like, what a bunch of hogwash.
And just like the Nigerian Prince, they know 90% of their viewers are going to have analytical minds, are going to go, what the hell was that? But that certain percentage is going to go, oh, yeah, that's right. Hurricane's coming. We better go do that.
Yeah, so stupid. It's so stupid.
Well,
honestly, it's so stupid. Well, in any event,
propaganda works. That's why it's still around.
In any event, well, I've read the numbers. I'm not putting my foot down on it, but I've read the numbers that all that's dropped like crazy. In terms of, and it would after a time, but whatever. In any event, this AI situation, there's lots of pros and to it as well as not only just cons, but there's lots of pros because a whole bunch of things can be done. I mean,
when it's used for the correct things. For instance, if you've got a bunch of I can see where it would be a major benefit to you, where you have a lot of photographs, old photographs that are copies of copies of copies, and you want to clean them up and make them nice so you can actually see what the person looks like and maybe pick out some detail of a background. Then AI, I could see, would be a huge benefit to what you're doing.
Yeah, or things like virtual goggles and stuff. Things like, I want to visit Rome, and then they recreate Rome. But you go into it understanding that you're participating, aware that this isn't what's real.
Right.
This is a representation, so you can experience a proximity of what it would be like to be standing in front of the
an approximation,
the Coliseum or whatever. As long as deception is not included, I'm okay with it. It's when deception is included where I have a huge freaking problem.
Well, I'm with you there 100%, and that's not restricted to AI. I'm that way with everything, with anything. If I go to a car dealership and I pay for a car and they don't deliver the car, that's deception. That's fraud.
That's fraud.
Well, this is absolutely no different. It's kind of like saying, well, if you wear this sports shirt, women are going to be crawling all over you. No, it's a bunch of BS, you know.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah, you don't remember because I think they kind of went out of business or they stopped selling it before you were born. There was a men's cologne called High Karate, and it was marketed as when you slap this stuff on your face, the women were going to be all over you, and you needed to go karate. You needed to go karate to fight them all off, you know. And
Have you ever?
we knew it was ridiculous. We knew it was
But
stupidity,
you bought it anyway.
but you knew a certain percentage of the population would buy that.
Did you ever see Anchorman, the movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, dude, there's a scene in Anchorman the movie because it's kind of like a 70-ish look to it,
Yeah.
and it's ridiculous, like San Diego, like news team.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's so many skits in that are so ridiculously funny. By the way,
Mhm.
but in one, there's this 70s like I get all the girls type anchor guy. I think
Yeah.
he was either the sports guy or the man on the field. I think it was the man on the field reporter guy. And he says, "Look, before you go out on a date to the main to Will Ferrell, before you go, you should try this because this works. This product works 100% of the time, 70% of the time.
Yeah.
No, no,
Exactly.
no. I'm sorry. He said this works 70% of the time, 100% of the time. He said
Yeah.
it's such a ridiculous because
Yeah.
what he's saying is the same thing. Anyways,
Yeah, exactly.
so he opens up the case in his office, the
Mhm.
thing in his office, and the shelf, and he pulls out this box, and it opens up, and the bottle of perfume slowly rises up, and it's like in the shape of some sort of tiger. And it
Mhm.
goes roar when it comes up. It goes roar, and he says, "You just sprinkle a little bit of this, and it gets them all." And that's when he says the thing. And then the other guy says, "It smells like raw petroleum." And he says, "Yes, I know, it's fantastic. It works all the time." Hilarious. So that reminded me of what you just said.
Okay, Jim Dockrell just said 60% of the time it works every time.
Yeah, that's the one. It's so ridiculous.
Jim also said, "You mean the axe effect isn't a thing?" Well, maybe when you're 12, but you know,
You have to see that movie if you ever get a chance. Just for it's so stupidly ridiculous.
I don't think Will Ferrell's as funny as a lot of people think he is. He's just kind of like, yeah, okay, fine, kind of like Adam Sandler. Just not much for him.
Oh
Not
man.
my kind of humor. But
Have you watched any of his movies?
which one, Will Ferrell or Adam Sandler?
Will Ferrell's?
I saw part of one. I don't remember which one it was. Oh my god, shows how interested I was. We were over at my daughter's house for Christmas, and it was playing in the living room, and I don't remember which movie it was, and the kids were all watching, and I say the kids, they're in their 20s. You know, my oldest granddaughter's 26, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
My grandson is fixing to be 29. Holy shit. Anyway, so it was playing. I watched a few minutes of it, and I went back into the kitchen where all the good parties end anyway. So
yeah,
it just wasn't for me. I don't know what it was. It may have been Anchorman, but I don't think so.
I find him funny, but you know, whatever. I think he's funny. I like his comedy, and just like I like what's this guy's name? Jim Carrey.
I do like a lot of Jim Carrey's work, but Jim Carrey is one of those guys. It's either an excellent film or it's a real stinker. There is no in between. It in many ways he's like Burt Reynolds, either in a fantastic movie or a real dud. So I have to pick and choose my Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah, there's one that I didn't like very much, which was part 2 of Dumb and Dumber. it was so insulting. Like the comedy was so like in your face, really dumb
Mhm.
that my girlfriend at the time and I looked at her and said, "Look, are we gonna put up with this?" And she said, "I don't know. This is," and I said, "Let's just go." It was one of the few times in my life I've ever walked out. I've walked out on. How many movies have you walked out on, by the way?
Not many. Years ago. Oh my God, I don't believe I'm saying this. It had to have been 40 years ago. I took my daughters to go see the Care Bears movie.
Oh,
I have never spent more time in a theater lobby in my life
it was that terrible.
talking to the girl behind the concession stand. I gotta get her phone number, but it would, I could, okay, I think I've steeled myself. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to sit with my kids and I'm going to watch this movie. Then sit down next to my daughters. Well, what's the matter, Sunshine Bear? That's it for me. Then up and gone. My cute meter pegs real quick. All
Yeah,
right. It don't take much.
dude, that's a
And
pretty difficult one to sit through, dude.
that was over the top.
Yeah,
But
the
it
theme
wasn't
itself.
made but it wasn't made for me. It was
No,
made for 4 and 6-year-old girls, and
yeah,
that's who was watching it.
yeah.
So
Just the mention of Care Bears brings within me it starts to boil this need to, I don't know, burn down 3 or 4 villages. It just gives me this sense inside, and I'm not a particularly violent guy
Yeah,
whatsoever,
but
but that would put me over the edge. I would run rampage across, I
we're
don't know,
we're gonna
France.
go in several different directions. And yes, that was long before I met Linda. Um, we're gonna go off in a different direction, but I have to. That shows the difference between kids' movies then and kids' movies now. Because if it would have been Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, I'd have been right there with them the whole damn time. If it would have been Fantasia or Snow White or any of the Disney animated films, Cinderella, I'd have been right there with them the whole time. Laughing when the funny stuff came and, kind of into the story. Because even as an adult, there was enough adult humor to keep you interested.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Linda got into a stretch where she was doing a lot of Disney animation and some of the Pixar animations and what have you. And she brought home Lilo and Stitch. Have you ever seen that movie?
no.
She plugged it in and turned it on, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. My cute meter's going to get pegged, and I'm going to be out in the backyard digging holes or something. But as I watched that movie, I started laughing and laughing and there's enough adult humor in these movies that was actually a real funny flick. It was primarily made for kids, but there was enough. And when I say adult humor, I mean humor adults would get.
Mhm.
I don't mean crass or rude or dirty or anything like that. But you could tell there were jokes for the 5-year-old and there was the jokes for the 35-year-old in this movie. And it was actually pretty good. But we got into that area where you had Strawberry Shortcake and Care Bears and My Little Pony and Hello Kitty. And it was a cutesy overload that make you want to gag the minute you paid for the tickets. But you got to try to be a good dad. And you do. All right, kids. All right, let's go. You like this? I don't. I'm going to go out and talk to the girl behind the concession counter again. Yeah.
It's a tough one. I mean, when my dad would take me to the movies, American Werewolf in London,
Mm-hmm.
Rocky,
Mm-hmm.
Jaws, Indiana Jones, black exploitation films, like,
Shaft.
well, yeah, similar to that.
Mhm.
Whatever non-branded ones there were back
Yeah.
then, I'd watch.
Superfly.
There was Death Wish. Those were the movies.
Charles
My dad.
Bronson. Yeah.
There was no consideration of R rating at all.
My mother, I've said it many times, my mother was a major prude and had an absolute fit. There ain't no way my kids are going to an R-rated movie. No. I'm 15. I want to go see the movie Tommy, the rock opera based on the Who's albums.
Mhm.
No, it was rated R. I had to wait until it came out on video cassette to see it. And even then, meh.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you one movie that I went to but didn't appreciate nor watch properly at the time. Back when I was a teenager, at some point, Mel Gibson released Hamlet. I think it was his version of Hamlet, like him starring as Hamlet.
Mhm.
And we went. My girlfriend, high school girlfriend, her cousin, and her cousin's boyfriend. Her cousin and her cousin's boyfriend were older, and we were the younger ones, and we all packed in and headed out to the movies. I think it was at the now defunct wherever Sunset Place used to be. I forget the name now. I think it was the Baker Center.
Mhm.
It was this tall building, and you walk up to the whatever. And then they built some other thing in Sunset Place, which is pretty cool. And now they're going to tear that down and whatever. We went in, but before we went in, we ate, and we stopped at a 7-Eleven. They pulled out this thing of rum,
Mhm.
and they poured the rum into the Slurpees that we all bought. I had no idea that this was the process. This was the first time ever that drinking so much alcohol to be. They poured it, but because it was so sweet, the Slurpee and the liquor, I gulped that down like you would not believe. And when we sat in the theater and the lights came down, the screen started going like that. Like first half of the movie, it's just going yeah. And I was holding on. I'm trying to act normal because I'm with so I'm trying to act normal, but I've lost it. I don't know what the hell's going on with me. It's going like this. And at one point, I exited to the bathroom. I stumbled out to the bathroom, and the boyfriend found me in the stall with my pants down to my knees, sitting on the toilet like that.
Passed out.
Yeah, and he said, "Dude, are you okay?" And then oh, I'm okay, man. And then they took me to the lobby, and I see my girlfriend in the distance.
Mhm.
This cute Cuban girl button in the distance, and I'm approaching her, and right there in the hall, I went, and dude, I let out everything I ate that night. It was such a voluminous amount
Technicolor yawn.
of hurling.
Mhm.
Right in front of her, dude. She saw everything just coming out, and I couldn't control. I couldn't, it was just coming out and coming out and coming splat. And then I remember in the car, getting to the car. Damn it, Beagle. Go ahead, movie. Then I remember getting to the car, and they were very worried of getting in trouble because I was tore up. What were my parents going to say?
How old were you?
I was probably 15 years old.
Oh wow.
I had drank before, but you have to understand, this is kids on their own.
Yeah.
They pulled a bottle, and they emptied the bottle in the four people's.
Oh Jesus!
And mixed in with the Slurpee, because that was it. It was a frozen drink. Man, that tore me. So, anyways, nothing happened the following day. My parents found out. I told my mom. That's how, she said, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And she says, "No, we drank some things, but Mom, don't get me." And she didn't make it a big deal. Yeah. That's how they were. And my dad, I don't think that he ever found out, and so nobody got in trouble. But if it would have been me offering that to my girlfriend and got her drunk, like
got
that.
her in trouble. Yeah.
That would have been a whole different other scenario. But in this scenario, it was this guy, so no big deal.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Boy, did I hurl. Boy, did I
Well,
hurl.
on that happy note, we ought to land the plane.
Yeah.
Please return your seat backs and tray tables to the upright and locked position.
Yeah. Okay. Did you, by the way, one last question. Have you come
Okay.
across anything to do with the Who in the last week or two?
One thing. It was a YouTube short, and they went down the list of the top 10 bass players of the rock and roll era, and John Entwistle was number one.
Okay. But nothing to do with the Who specifically?
Not that I noticed.
Okay. Okay. I just testing the waters. I was testing the waters because I ran into something where what's this guy's name? The guitarist Pete Townsend.
Oh, Pete Townsend. Yeah.
No, Pete Townsend from the Who. Where they explain where the name Baba O'Reilly came from. I had no idea. I had never posed that question in my mind for the past 40 plus years. Did you?
The Who? I never thought of where that name came from. The Baba O'Reilly name, no.
But it sounds Irish, right?
The O'Reilly does, but I knew that the song was part of a project that he had been working on, another rock opera he wanted to call Lifehouse. But other than that, I don't know where the name Baba O'Reilly came from. It
comes from two types of philosophers that he was into at the time. One was an Eastern mystic type guy. The other one was American guy or Canadian guy or something like that. And they both had these particular philosophies, and he joined the two names together. And the signals that they use in the music, somehow or another, blah blah blah. He introduced human signals into music so they could plot on a musical chart to create that, and that's why he compounded the two names Baba and then O'Reilly for the American guy. And that's where. Had you ever even questioned that?
No, because I taking it with a grain of salt and knowing the times that they were. You got to remember, I grew up on songs like Inagata Davida. Baba O'Reilly was pretty mainstream, you know?
Yeah.
So I figured they were all pretty whacked out anyway. So especially the Who. So no, I never really questioned it. I just thought, okay, that's a weird name, but
all right,
you know, that's the Who. They also had a song called Boris the Spider. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Livewire was pretty good. That album that was in the 2000s. By the way, I liked it. Anyways, with that said, I guess we'll land the plane. Listen, guys, thank you for hanging out with us this evening. We hope you enjoyed the show. We go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific time, and we have a site over on Facebook as well as a web site over on Facebook.
You said that.
Oh, I thought you were going to go to the Facebook banner.
Well, I just now saw it. I've been waiting for it to come up.
Oh, okay. And so there's that. And then we also have a website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com. So you can go check those out. And we're sponsored by
Harneal Media. Our friend, our buddy, our pal, Steve, over there at Harneal Media. You know you want a website. You know you want a website that's done well. You know you want a website that is done right. You know you want a website that just works. Just make it work. Steve has you covered. You're looking for a web store to put your products or services out in front of the masses. Steve will take care of you. Very competitively priced, 100% personalized service. And remember, when you're dealing with Harneal Media, you're dealing with Steve, not some nameless, faceless person in a call center somewhere that you're never going to speak to again.
An AI.
Or an AI, exactly. At least we think he's real. Yeah, he's real. So do yourself a favor, head over to Harneal Media. Now you'll find a link to Harneal Media in the description of everything you'll find on this YouTube channel. And it's that way for a reason. He gives you performance. He doesn't give you excuses. Get over to harnealmedia.com, click that contact us link, give Steve a shout, and you can get underway. That's Harneal Media, HARNEAL Media, sponsor of Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com.
All right. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week. Do the things that you love, whatever those things might be, but do it safely. Be careful out there. It's a crazy, wild world. Then again, it depends on location. I know for me, I have to keep an eye out, but
Baby,
just the same, we wish you the best. We'll catch you next time here. Peace.
Do what you feel, but keep both feet on the wheel. Please.
Okay.